This is going to be a really beginner-friendly guide to playing Demonology Warlock in 11.0.5 in the War Within. Starting off, I want to talk a little tiny bit about the stats. Intellect is your friend. You're going to get this from a higher and higher eye level of gear. I wouldn't worry too much about the secondary stats if you are just playing at a beginner or intermediate level. Generally, getting a higher eye level is always going to be your best bet and will always be an improvement. Critical strike means you do more damage. Haste is going to increase how fast things happen. Mastery increases the damage done by your demons, and versatility increases damage and healing done, but also reduces damage taken. So it's a really nice all-round stat. So, a lot of demons we are going to have, that's for certainly sure. So many demons. We're starting off here. I've got my Fell Hunter out. I like my Fell Hunter because it can interrupt. And I've got some Wild Imps, and these are going to be generating sort of semi-passively as well. For the hero talents we're going for, I am going with Soul Harvester. You can go for Diabolist as well if you'd like in this season and this patch, and you don't have to change any talents at all. So if you're like, you know what, I don't want to do Soul Harvester, I want to go Diabolist, you can do that, knowing full well that none of these talents will have to change, and you are absolutely fine to do that. But I am going to be showing you for both Raiding and Mythic Plus, so single target and AoE, Soul Harvester today. Let's then jump straight into the rotation, and I'm then going to talk about why we're doing things and important talents and things like that. So, left to right is the priority. Number 1, Power Siphon. It's on a 30-second cooldown, and we're going to sacrifice up to 2 of our Wild Imps, generating 2 charges of Demonic Core that are going to cause our Demon Bolt to do more damage. Can you see down here on the left here, above my Fell Hunter, this buff, Demonic Core? The cast time of Demon Bolt is reduced completely, and its damage is increased. And that is what Power Siphon will get us. And we can do that before we even go into combat. Once we've done that, we're then going to use our Grimoire Felguard. This means that we can summon a Felguard that attacks our target that deals loads of damage. This will also stun and interrupt the target as soon as you summon it. So use your Power Siphon before you go into battle, then summon your Felguard. We're then going to use a Shadow Bolt, and you'll notice here it does some damage, but it also generates a Soul Shard. These are our Soul Shards here. We can have a maximum of 5 Soul Shards. Okay, so Shadow Bolt is the main way we're generating Soul Shards. After that, you're going to then summon your Gloom Hound. And then we're going to cast another Shadow Bolt. Then we're going to call our Dreadstalkers. Just more demons that we're summoning, basically. After all of that, we've summoned all our demons and done a few Shadow Bolts. We're then going to use our Demon Bolt. Okay? Now, you can see it's a long cast time on here. But because we would have used Power Siphon, it's going to be instant, which is even better. And what Demon Bolt will do on the target is this here. Doom deals damage to enemies within 10 yards, etc. So, just to go through that again, use Power Siphon to summon some imps and get your super duper Demon Bolt. Summon your Felguard, use a Shadow Bolt, summon your Gloomhound, use another Shadow Bolt, call your Dreadstalkers out, then use your instant Demon Bolt that you'll have. And then after that, we're probably going to have quite a lot of Soul Shards by this point. As you can see, I've got 5. How do we spend them? We're going to use the Hand of Gul'dan. Calls down a demonic meteor full of wild imps which bursts forth to attack the target. Deals loads of damage on impact. And summons up to 3 wild imps. Now, you always generally want to use this at 3 or more Soul Shards to do the maximum effect. When we're in this kind of opening sequence, though, I would say you can use another one. And then we're going to use our Summon Demonic Tyrant. Summon the Tyrant to increase the duration of all of those demons that we've already done. That's why we do it at the end, because it's actually going to increase how long all these other demons we're summoning are out for. So that's your Dreadstalkers, your Vile Fiend, which is actually your Gloomhound, by the way. We have a talent that replaces the Vile Fiend with a Gloomhound. Your Wild Imps as well. Your Demonic Tyrant increases the damage of your affected demons by 15% while damaging your target. And then we're going to use Demonic Strength. Infuse your Felguard with Demonic Strength and command it to charge your target and unleash a Fellstorm that deals 300% increased damage. Now you'll see here that I can't use it, even if this Felguard is out. And that's because we need to actually have our main Felguard out. I can actually see the button, summon demon, so we can have our Felguard. And we can then have the second Felguard come out temporarily from the Grimoire. And in a single target, I would generally use a Felguard for this reason. Sometimes in open world and stuff, I like to use my my Fel Hunter, but that's really only because of interrupting, etc. Mainly, you would be using this guy. Once we've done all of that, all we're really going to be doing is using Power Siphon whenever we can to get those 2 stacks, or 1 stack even, of Demon Bolt. And Demon Bolt, by the way, will actually generate 2 soul shards, not 1. So once we've gotten all of that out of the way, you're then pretty much going to be using Shadow Bolt and then Hand of Gul'dan to spend soul shards, and then we're going to be using Hand of Gul'dan and then, spending soul shards. And then we're going to be summoning our demons whenever we can in this order again. And you can see it gets pretty chaotic. Like, look how many demons I have out. It's crazy. And summoning demons does also cost soul shards. So let's just go through the rotation one more time. Before battle, go and use Power Siphon. Summon your Felguard. Use a Shadow Bolt. Summon your Gloomhound. Use a Shadow Bolt. Summon your Dreadstalkers. Use your instant Demon Bolt. And then use a Hand of Gul'dan. Summon your Demonic Tyrant. And then increase your strength of your Felguard, etc. with your Demonic Strength. And then we're going to go into the kind of main rotation of just using Shadow Bolts and Hand of Gul'dan and any free Demon Bolts that proc. And that is the single target rotation. Let's now have a look at the important talents that we're going to be using. There's this one here, if you're wondering about Wild Imps. You passively summon a Wild Imp to fight for you every 12 seconds. So if you're thinking, how do I get more? That's going to be happening passively. Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt will also deal 2% additional damage per demon you have summoned, and that's something to be aware of. There's this one here, Demonic Calling, and you may have noticed this already in the video. Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt have a 10% chance to make your next cool Dreadstalkers cost 2 fewer soul shards and have no cast time. And that's on these ones, so they'll be basically free and an instant cast. And you know that's happening because they get the ribbon around it like this. So when I use Dreadstalkers now, it's instant. So that's when you know that you've procced that. This one is passive, but I think it's important to note, Dread Calling. Each soul shard that you spend on Hand of Gul'dan increases the damage of your next cool Dreadstalkers by 2%. Then we have our Doom here, which I've already discussed, but this is where it comes from. When Demon Bolt consumes a demonic core, it inflicts impending doom upon the target, doing damage to enemies, etc. How do we get our demonic cores? Remember, that's what we get. That's the name of the buff that we get when we use our Power Siphon, for example. Sometimes you will also passively summon a Doom Guard that's going to do damage when your Doom expires as well. And here's our Vile Fiend that you can see that you can summon. And this is the talent here where it replaces it with the Gloomhound. If you're wondering where that happens, it's here. There is this one as well, the Houndmaster's Gambit. Your Dreadstalkers do increased damage if your Vile Fiend, which is now a Gloomhound, is active. So just be aware having them out at the same time will actually mean more damage. Let's quickly talk about Soul Harvester. I'm only going to go through the Keystone talents as not to overwhelm you. It's all passive anyway. A demonic entity now inhabits your soul, allowing you to detect if a soul shard has a succulent soul. And that empowers your next Hand of Gul'dan, increasing its damage. And then the final one is that your Demonic Tyrant spell is empowered by the demonic entity within you, causing it to grant 3 soul shards that each contain a succulent soul. And that's going to happen when we use our Summoned Demonic Tyrant. You can see there, when I summoned it, I went from 2 to 5 instantly. So do try and make sure you use your Hand of Gul'dan to get your soul shards down to at least 2. Maximum of 2, which it will if you use 5, before you use your Demonic Tyrant. Otherwise, you are actually going to waste some soul shards. So just be aware of that. And that's pretty much all the important talents. Now, if you're thinking, okay, but what about AoE? We're not really going to do anything different at all. Exact same rotation. There's a lot of AoE already built in to this rotation. But at the very last thing we're going to do is this spell here, and that is Implosion. Demonic forces suck all of your wild imps towards the target and then cause them to explode, dealing shadow flame damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Just use that as a sort of bottom priority in your AoE rotation, and the rest could pretty much be left the same. With your Felguard, it does also have Fellstorm, which you can actually place. What I can do is I can place it onto my action bar if you're not sure about how pets work. There's my pet action bar is over here, but I can shift click this over onto mine and press it myself. Felguard recklessly swings its weapon, striking all nearby enemies, every 0.9 seconds, and that's a cooldown that you can use for your Felguard. And then for interrupting, you also have this one. Axe Toss, the Felguard hurls its weapon, stunning and interrupting the target, and that's a 30-second cooldown. And again, you can take that off your pet's bar onto yours to actually use it, obviously through your pet, but yourself. Last things I want to mention is if you are a beginner, what I would recommend is just practicing this rotation I've shown you. I've already shown you all the really important talents. And once you are comfortable, just have a little look like this. Just go, oh, right, yep, okay, what does this do, what does this do? And just see how it all comes together through the talent tree, including the class talents and the hero talents, and you'll get a little bit of a better understanding. But generally, all the ones I've shown you are kind of the ones that are really doing something. The rest are quite passive. If you're wondering about utilities that we've got things like Dark Pact, which is a really great defensive cooldown. We've got a few curses like Weakness, Tongues, and Exhaustion I would recommend you look into once you're more comfortable. Fear will fear your enemy. Soul Burn is quite useful. Soulstone can actually store someone's soul, meaning they can resurrect once they die using the Soulstone within them, which is basically a battle res because it can be used in combat. And then we have Unending Resolve. Hardens your skin, reducing all damage you take by 40%, and that's another great defensive. Last thing is Burning Rush, which will speed you up, but it will siphon some of your health, so just be careful of that. Yeah, that's it, guys, for Demonology. If you are liking the UI I have here, by the way, this is available on my Patreon. It doesn't usually have these bars. I'll show you what my UI actually looks like. Which is this. This is what my UI usually looks like. You can get this on my Patreon. It's all completely custom made by me. I've got profiles for the Luxfos Week Aura, the details, ElvUI, obviously. That's why I'm making my entire UI. And I've got tutorials on how to install this. A lot of people do seem to like my UI. So signing up to Patreon and getting this, it really helps support the channel as well, of course. And I really appreciate it. I can also on Patreon, if you would like, help you with things like reviewing your logs or giving you some more advice in the VIP channel in my Discord. Some people do really appreciate that as well. And we've got some really, really friendly people who know a lot about different classes who are really happy to help too. Should you want a beginner-friendly and kind of like no nonsense, no judgment place where you can ask questions, would be there as well. And yeah, that would be it, guys. I do every single spec if you are new here, and you can check out the playlist you now see on screen for all the other specs this patch, which is 11.0.5.